These Liberals have taken wasteful spending to the next level, whether it's tens of billions of dollars in wasteful COVID benefits, $54 million on the Arrive scam, or $6,000 a night in a luxury hotel room for this Prime Minister. These Liberals have no problem reaching into the pockets of Canadians, taking their money and throwing it on the inflationary fire that they lit. Life has become unaffordable under the mismanagement of these Liberals. So will they stop their wasteful inflationary spending so that Canadians don't have to decide whether to feed their families or to heat their homes?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of Employment.
Speaker, I don't think the 13 million Canadians who got individual COVID benefits would agree that that was wasteful spending. We were there for them from the beginning when they needed it, and the Auditor General agreed. She said that we were able to get money into the hands of Canadians quickly, that money was well spent and helped people stay home safely, and that it avoided significant economic and social consequences.
Well, member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
They absolutely got tens of billions of dollars into the hands of prisoners and deceased very quickly, and that is wasted money, and it's money that these Liberals need to be they need to account for. At the same time, we've heard from Ipsos polling this week that the majority of Canadians are scared they won't be able to put enough food on the table or gas in the car to get to work. 4 in 10 Canadians are worried that they're going to lose their jobs, and they're in an economy under these Liberals. They've created a Canada where Canadians are afraid every day. Will they end their wasteful spending so Canadians can feed their families and heat their homes?
The Honourable Minister for Families.
Mr. Speaker, we've created and are creating a Canada where Canadians are there for each other, where the government is there for them in their times of need. At the height of the pandemic, 9 million Canadians accessed CERB, Mr. Speaker. We will not apologize for being there for Canadians when they needed us. We start from a place of compassion, from a place of trust. That doesn't mean there aren't controls in place, but unlike the Conservatives, we trust Canadians and we're going to be there for them when they need it.
The Honourable Member for Peterborough, Kawartha.
$54 million on an Arrive scam app, and the Liberals don't know who got rich. $4.5 billion to cut homelessness by 50%, and yet tent cities continue to increase across this country. And the latest, Mr. Speaker, $4.6 billion went to COVID relief to people who didn't even qualify. Wow. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals continue to spend billions and billions of Canadians' taxpayers' money. So how do they have the audacity to expect them to pay for their incompetence?
The Honourable Minister of Immigration.
How ironic is it that the Conservative Party of Canada's strategy to combat an affordability crisis is to do less for Canadians in their time of need? It comes as no surprise to me because from the beginning of the campaign, the pandemic, their leader started with a press conference saying that these big fat government programs would not receive the support of the Conservative Party. Mr. Speaker, those programs kept food on the table for my neighbours and a roof over the heads of their children. Those programs kept open the doors of small businesses in my community, and the owners were able to keep the lights on. Those programs kept workers on payroll that allowed them to be able to afford the cost of living and at the same time maintain the benefits that their employer provided for them. I regret none of these programs. We would do it again because it was the right thing to do then. It's the right thing to do now.
Honourable Member for Peterborough, Kawartha.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals' inability to listen is inconceivable. We are not saying that that didn't help people. They are not accounting for nearly $30 billion that the Auditor General is calling for them to investigate. Who are they listening to? 1.5 billion people used a food bank. Children are starving. People are dying by suicide. We are not saying that. When will they listen, have some humble pie, and quit their inflationary spending?
The Honourable Minister. The Conservatives, in the report by the Auditor General, she specified that our programs that were put in place helped save lives and jobs, Mr. Speaker. We were courageous and we looked after our economy. There are a lot of people on the ground who who I've met with, and what do people tell me? They say they are happy that the Liberals are in power and have been since the start of the pandemic. It would have been a disaster for them if the Conservatives had been in charge. We will continue to look after our people.
For Chilliwack Hope.
It cost Canadian families a record amount to feed themselves in the last year, and unfortunately, it's only going to get worse. A new report confirms that it will cost over $1,000 more for Canadian families to put groceries on the table this year, driving their food costs to over $16,000 per year. Canadians who used to donate to the food bank are now lining up to use the food bank. So why don't the Liberals put an end to their inflationary policies, stop driving up the cost of everything so that Canadians can afford to feed their families again?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Tourism.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And it is because of the actions of this government and the measures that we have put in place that 2 million fewer Canadians are living in poverty today, Mr. Speaker. In just a few days' time, Canadians will be able to apply for a new rental benefit. This is a direct payment that will help Canadians make ends meet, and this is targeted spending in order to help vulnerable Canadians. Experts have all agreed that this is not inflationary spending. This is being there for Canadians, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Chilliwack Hope.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal program and plan is a total and complete failure. Food inflation is at a 40-year high. 1 in 5 Canadians are skipping meals to try to make ends meet. 1.5 million Canadians used the food bank in 1 month alone. 500,000 of them were children. Canadians cannot afford these Liberal inflationary policies. They can't afford to feed their families. So why don't they stop with the inflationary spending, stop making everything more expensive, and let Canadians get back to providing for their families?
The Honourable Minister.
You know what Canadians can't afford, Mr. Speaker, is bad financial advice from the Conservatives opposite. If Canadians had taken their advice and invested in crypto, they would have seen their savings wiped out. But instead, on this side of the House, we've actually been there to support Canadians. The Canada Child Benefit, which has lifted over 450,000 children out of poverty since 2015. 2 million fewer Canadians living in poverty thanks to the investments that this government has made in Canadians. Mr. Speaker, we trust Canadians, we believe in Canadians, and we're going to keep investing in them. I just wish the members opposite would do the same. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Le député de Mirabel.